Let's erase racism from history.
Mr. Pagan.
So the other day, I'm watching the news, and guess what they were doing? They were taking a massive statue of Robert E. Lee, the horrible evil man from history, and they were taking the statue off of its pedestal and getting rid of it.
A towering crane today plucking Confederate General Robert E. Lee statue from its pedestal in downtown Charlottesville.
It was amazing. It was a beautiful thing, guys. You know why? Because black people shouldn't have to walk past that statue all the time and see this evil man from history. I mean, how triggering is that? Absolutely triggering. Super triggering. In fact, I think his horse was named Trigger. But that got me thinking. When I was in school, we had to read about the Civil War. We had to read about Robert E. Lee. We had to read about slavery. We had to read about all of these horrible things. So I started thinking, why are we just getting rid of Robert E. Lee from this one place, this one statue of him, this one reference? We need to get rid of every reference to Robert E. Lee in history, every reference to slavery. Let's just erase it from all the history books. And then I started thinking, you know who else is in all the history books? None other than Adolf Hitler. And I'm thinking, how triggering is that? You've got the slavery trigger, you've got the Hitler trigger, you've got Robert E. Lee's horse named Trigger, you've got all these triggers. I'm just thinking, we've got to rewrite the history books. So I just started thinking, like, why don't we get communities together and we'll have this function? Everybody goes to the town center in the middle of the night, they throw all their history books in a big pile in the middle of the town square, and we set them on fire. It's magnificent. It'll be, as the kids say, fire. We can call it book burning. I mean, someone like Hitler would hate book burning. I mean, he would just be disgusted with such a thing, which is why I love it so much. Hitler, what a jerk, right? But then that got me thinking about fiction. Fiction has a lot of despicable characters as well. I mean, Darth Vader and the Empire was a thinly veiled reference to 1930s Germany. I mean, the soldiers were called stormtroopers. Hello? So, okay, every copy of Star Wars needs to be burned. I mean, basically any supervillain from any comic book is going to trigger somebody. So let's just burn every comic book and every comic book movie. And in fact, every movie with a bad guy, because somebody's going to be triggered by that stuff. No Lex Luthor, no Joker, no Darth Vader, none of them. These are all white men who are very powerful, and we don't need to depict that on film. Wait a minute. I just realized something. How are we going to teach the next generation of socialists that white men are evil if we erase this history? Hold on. Mind blown. Okay, new idea. You ready for this? Put all the bad guys back into the movies. Put them back into the history books. In fact, put all the statues back up. Golly gee, I just realized we've got to make sure that General Lee statue does not come down. Is it already down? Okay, we got to put that statue back up. In fact, we got to put all the statues back up. Okay, wow, I've got to start some kind of a protest. I'm pretty sure I have a tiki torch here somewhere. Ooh, new idea. Tear down all the statues of Martin Luther King Jr. Bear with me. Martin Luther King Jr. believed that all the races were equal. This is obviously insane. Everybody knows black people are better than white people. So Martin Luther King Jr. was essentially the black face of white supremacy. And we can't have future generations seeing that. They have to see black men as pure and good and perfect. We can't show some kind of white supremacist black man like Martin Luther King Jr. in statues. We have to tear all of those down. And the man had 3 names. That's a little suspicious. You know who also has 3 names? Serial killers. Obviously, the guy was a psychopath. All right, yeah, we're doing this all wrong. We're tearing down the statues of all the evil white guys like Robert E. Lee, and we're putting up murals of amazing heroes like George Floyd. But we Democrats, we don't need to know who to admire. We need to know who to hate. That's the whole point of the Democrat Party, knowing exactly who to hate. Brainstorm who is the most hated man in history. Yeah, none other than Donald J. Trump. So not only do we have to tear down the statues of Martin Luther King Jr., not only do we have to resurrect all the statues of all the evil white men in history, but we need to erect a huge number of statues to Donald J. Trump. That way, no one in the future will ever forget the most evil man from history. You know what? I think I might be a genius. All right, guys, I've got to go. Okay, but just remember, it's not about being factually correct. It's about being, what? That's right, morally right. Namaste, bitches. I gotta go. Let's erase racism from history. What a moron this character is. The black face of white supremacy. In fact, I think his horse was named Trigger. Okay. You know what? I think I might be a genius. All right. Hopefully that one was good. I made Valeria laugh. So if I could make Valeria laugh, that means I did a good one. Okay. Stop.
Now is the time to heed the timeless advice from Teddy Roosevelt. Speak softly and carry a big stick. End of quote. I promise you, the president has a big stick. I promise you.